Color correction in makeup is easy. Let's say we have a little bit of redness, okay? So I'm just going to create, obviously, a fake redness here, a really dark one and a really light one. So you can see I'm even gonna do another one just here, okay? Very light. So to correct that redness, we need to look what sits on the other side of the color wheel. So red and green neutralize each other. When we are talking about green correctors, we need to look at how deep that redness is. So this color corrector here has a green or an olive undertone, and that is perfect to cover these two rednesses here. For a redness that is deep as this one, we're gonna need a green that's much stronger. Now, the question is, why the green and the red neutralize each other? So if you look at makeup, the primary colors we have are blue, red, and yellow. So in makeup artistry, every makeup product is made based using these colors. To neutralize the redness, we're going to be using green. But green is actually made of blue and yellow. So these two colors together make green. So I am actually mixing all the three primary colors together. And that's the reason why they neutralize each other, because when they get mixed together, we're making brown. So let me just show you what I mean by that. So here I have that green. Oh, there was a little bit of white in it. And I'm just going to start adding that to the edge of that redness. And then you can see how the color slowly starts to disappear. It is a little bit dark for my skin tone, but that's fine because I just want to show you how we can actually neutralize the redness. So I'm just pushing that product on the skin. See if you can see that a little bit closer. I need a little bit more green. And then you see how that color just kind of disappears on my skin. Okay. Again, it is a shade darker than my skin tone. So if I wanted to adjust that, I would just add a little bit of white and then blend that in to that mixture. If the undertone is not correct, you're still going to be able to see that color sitting on top of the skin. So you would need to adjust the undertone prior to matching your skin. But it's a very close match, as you can see. You can see a little bit here. It is a little bit pink, but you can see how that neutralizes one another. Now, if I wanted to cover that kind of redness, I need a much stronger green. So I am going to mix the yellow and a little bit of blue. And we're going to make the green that actually suits that intensity of red. Okay, it is looking a little bit yellow still, so I'm going to mix a little bit more blue. And a little bit more blue. And then I have a green that is much closer to that red. And if I just place that on top, I just use that straight from my palette, from my spatula, and I'm going to start to mix. And you see how slowly we're going to start making brown. Again, brown is a neutral color. Because I'm mixing the three primary colors together, I am going to get a really natural neutral brown. Okay, you have a neutral brown, and then again, if I want to lighten that, I'm going to add a little bit of white to try to match my skin tone. So again, color theory is not magic. It's all about learning what colors interact with one another and the results that you get by mixing them together. And I'm just going to mix this. You see how slowly that color just disappears. You can see that one is pink, this one is more on the olive side, which means I need a tiny little bit more red. Maybe I just put too much color corrector, and that's why it was looking a little bit green. So I'm just mixing this again, and you see how these colors now disappear on my eye. And that's how we color correct the redness. Now, to color correct blue, we need to look at the same structure of the colors. So here I have a really light blue, not so strong. This one I'm just going to make a little bit stronger. And note how this blue here has a white pigment to it. I'm going to leave this one quite heavy actually, so we can see a little bit better. And then I am going to add that really deep blue. Okay, and the rules here are the same. We need to look on the other side of the color wheel, and we can see that orange actually corrects blue. Again, blue is a primary color, and red and yellow mixed together make orange. So that's why the orange and the blue neutralize each other, because we are blending all the three primary colors together. So to color correct that blue, I need to first look at the orange or the peach undertones that I have, and then mix together. This one is very, very light. So if you have very fair skin, this would be the best option for you. And we're gonna mix that. That is much lighter than my skin tone, so it will be able to see that sitting on my skin. And I'll come a little bit closer, and you can see it's much lighter than my skin tone. You can still see a little cast of blue, so I'm just applying a little bit more. And then with that blue, we're going to try this one that is a little bit more intense. And you see how slowly we're going to start making brown. So a little bit more, because I can see it's getting a little bit green, which means I don't have enough of the corrector. And now you can see that green cast is just disappearing. Okay, so we're just going to mix that. And you see how slowly we start making brown. And you see the difference from this side and that side. I still need more of the color corrector. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now. So you can see on this side it's nearly all gone. And now with the dark one, I'm using a much darker orange. Again, I'm just going to do that on the side here. And then we see. You need to remember that the blue is actually quite pigmented. That's why you got that cast there. I didn't have to actually add that much into it, but you get the idea. So here I'm just adding a little bit of blue, and you see how now I'm making brown. And again, brown is a neutral color. So you can see how that neutralize one another. If I add white to this, that was a bit too much white. But then you see how that now becomes more like the skin tone. So I mix all of them, and they still very light for my skin tone. You can see how they just make a really fair looking skin. And now I can even play with that if I wanted to. If I want to add a little bit more blue and a little bit of red and find my undertone, I could do that too. So blue, that looks a little bit green, so we need red to correct. And now I have purple, and to correct purple, we're going to add yellow. And then you have a very natural looking skin tone. So this is all about how to mix colors and neutralize them, and understanding that the core of the color theory is always mixing colors that are going to neutralize them. So by mixing the three primaries, we're always going to get a shade of brown.